Yes, I'm with Jeffrey Miller with Compass Leadership. We've known each other for a while. This is the Happy Theologist Podcast with Tove. And last time we were talking with Jeffrey, kind of went into a little bit of his background and his passion, how he got involved. If you haven't seen that one, go back and take a look at that podcast or watch it, listen to it, however you're taking it in. Um, and then let's see, we were talking about work the last time, and we were talking, and it was we talked on two different Hebrew words. Kavod is the one that you were really focusing on. So why don't we go there?
Absolutely. Yeah, this word kavod is a really powerful word, and it means to make heavy, as with many goods, and it gets translated as well as honor. And I love the word honor. Jesus talked about honor, about honoring a righteous man as a righteous man, and you receive a righteous man's reward. You honor a prophet as a prophet, and you receive a prophet's reward. But really, what is honor? Like these other words, I love to disambiguate language, and that's also why Tove and I can nerd out on these things together, because honor, respect, obedience, flattery, esteem, like really, what is honor? We have honorary members, honorary citizens, honorary degrees, honorary awards, or credit cards, right? Are they honored here or not? We have the honor system for paying for things, and so this word honor. I'll start with the English word because other than Tove, I'm not a fluent Hebraic speaker. But the English word honor means to impute value. And if you don't see, if you're listening to this, not looking at the video, I'm holding a mug in my hand. And this mug has what's called intrinsic value. The mug all by itself can hold a drink, a beverage, coffee is what I currently have here. And so that's its intrinsic value. But now let's say that this cup was owned by some, famous person of antiquity. All of a sudden we impute value, or say it's owned by your favorite sports player, or celebrity. All of a sudden this cup now becomes more valuable to you in your eyes. And that imputed value means to assign a value to something by inference from the value to which it contributes. So objective value or value that we might more closely associate with bartering only got us so far in society. But when we understand true value and the role that money plays, as I would say our modern day honor system, it's an agreement between people, not just to the value of the good or the service. It's actually an agreement as to the value of the currency that we're using to make that exchange. But I digress a little bit here because what you were asking about, Tove, was the Hebrew concept. And I love going to the example of honor your father and mother that it may go well with you. The first commandment, Paul talks about the first commandment with a promise. And so does that mean I have to respect terrible parents? Does that mean I have to, obey people telling me to do evil? Like, what is this honor that God associates with blessing?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it has to do with recognition. There are two components to honor. First, you have to be able to recognize value. Okay. We might say respect. I can respect a tightrope walker. Wow, that's an amazing skill. But then secondly, we have to position ourselves to transact, to receive that value. Am I going to get on their back and go across the tightrope? I don't think so. I can respect from a distance, but honor requires a willingness to receive and to transact that value. So let me give you a personal example, honoring father and mother. My grandparents, only living grandparents I ever had. My grandma was a professional cook her whole life. My grandpa was an accountant and had his own accounting firm. And growing up, I loved going over to my grandpa and grandma's house and eating her home cooked meals. And I was always very appreciative. When I moved into my own space as a young adult, I asked my grandma for cooking lessons. I didn't ask my grandpa for cooking lessons. He never had to cook when they got married. The 61 years they were married, never had to cook. But she came over to my place, this apartment I had rented in the inner city, and she took one look around the kitchen, and she said, "Today we're not learning to cook, we're learning to clean." And she taught me how to deep clean a kitchen, and it's gone well with me because I positioned myself. I recognized the value on her life, and I positioned myself to receive from her in that way. Now, my grandparents were good with money. When I was a teenager starting to manage my own money, I didn't go to my grandma for advice. And it wasn't a disrespect or a dishonor, but she didn't have to manage the money. My grandpa did that. And so he taught me to never, never, never have personal debt. And I will say that in growing up through the college age years and different things, paying my way through school, paying cash for vehicles, like it has gone well with me, choosing to follow his wisdom, to honor the advice that he gave me. And so it was about recognition. And that's the beauty of honor. Now to take that and bring it before God. Who knows how to make the best business decisions? Probably the person who knows the end from the beginning, probably the person with all wisdom, all knowledge, all power. So when I work, do I actually honor kavod, God? Do I actually bring myself before him with my daily decisions? Am I actually coming to him and choosing the weightiness that he carries and positioning myself to receive from him?
That's good. That's really good. That's one of the clearest explanations I've ever heard anybody give. See, in my own life, I really wish I'd had somebody like that. I had my mom who was a really good cook, but my parents together, they weren't very good at money. So I never really had that good example. So here I am at 54 years old trying to figure it out and learn.
Yeah, yeah,
And I know I'm not
for
the only
sure.
one in that position. There are lots of people, lots of my listeners, lots of my viewers, my readers who are in that exact
Mm.
position. So what would you say to people like me in this position? How do you think we should follow through on gaining the skills we lost out on that you didn't lose out on growing up?
Oh, well, wow. First of all, I appreciate that encouragement and compliment. Um, it's been a process of continually humbling myself or being humbled by business decisions or agreements, contracts, non-payment by clients, um, uh, learning the voice of the Lord versus my generally optimistic, it's going to work out point of view. Even just had a situation recently, I won't get into the details, where I had a different understanding than someone else on a scenario. And sure enough, we didn't document it. And so we're in the middle of needing to figure that out in a holistic, friends come to the table sort of way, and choosing the path of honor versus choosing the path that may look the most lucrative or trying to force or manipulate a situation to inure to my benefit. And so that requires what I would say is a key character trait of humility. And so to talk about that for a moment, there are in any skill, um, we all start out unconsciously incompetent. We don't know that we don't know.
Right.
And in order to become an expert in anything, we first have to move from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence. We now know that we don't know. I remember one of my first business deals. I knew nothing about invoicing. I had a contract. We had a payment schedule in the contract, and it came time to receive a payment a few weeks in. No payment came. I didn't know that I didn't know uh, that they wanted an invoice.
Mhm.
It was all spelled out in the contract, but I was unconsciously incompetent at financial management within my own business.
Mhm.
And even today, it's like, ooh, do I really want to share that story? But that's the humility that's required to maybe help other people say, you know what, it's okay. We all started out not knowing that we didn't even know. And then we move to conscious incompetence. And then, of course, we all want to be consciously competent. We know that we know.
Mhm.
There's actually one more step after that, and that's your experts. They know more than they know, more than they could actually articulate. They are unconsciously competent. And and that's a great skill to have your chief doers be experts in their field. They can just do it without having to cognate about it.
Mhm.
But your teachers actually need to take a step back and move back into conscious competence. So who you're looking for to train you in any skill set are people that are consciously competent. And then there are, if I can digress a little bit longer,
Yeah.
there are three ways to learn something. You can learn from failure. Like I like riding a bike. You can get out there, get on a bike, fall down, scrape your knees. You know, you had to buy the bike. You had to figure it all out on your own. Oh, maybe I should get a helmet. Kind of like me with invoicing. I just failed forward, to be honest, on that one. Better on the spectrum would be to learn from a teacher. Teaching objective truth. It's good. It's valuable. I can watch a YouTube video about riding a bike and I
Mhm.
can learn some balance techniques, some cadence techniques with pedaling. Maybe I can learn about the best kind of bike to buy for a beginner. But then on the other end of the spectrum, you have fathers. And Paul said, in Christ, you have many teachers, but not many fathers. And that's in Christ. What's a father then compared to a teacher?
Yeah.
It's personalized or subjective truth. We're not separating objective versus subjective. We're just adding a layer of saying this is how you apply, son, the objective truth into your life. And I had a mentor of mine tell me something that I think about often, and that is that when he feels called to do something, he looks for a father in that area before moving forward because he knows that it's going to go well with him in that area if he chooses to follow the leadership and advice and counsel of a father. So,
It's good.
by the way, in that bike scenario,
Yeah.
the father probably bought you the bike, probably took you to the park, and he's probably holding the backs of the seats while you're learning to balance.
Right.
And if you fall down, he's there to pick you up and kiss your boo-boos.
Mhm.
So fathers, failure is not a bad way to learn, and sometimes the Lord is in it and He uses that in our life. But fathers, it's the most costly. Fathers come with resource. Failure comes with expense.
That's good. Let's take a pause right there, and let's just let people think about that. And then when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more on this subject and go a little deeper. All right.
Very good.
All right.